Hey guys, and welcome back to the Ringer 57 YouTube channel. I am filming this intro after the video and the outro. So we are back at the house, but we're going to start this video a few weeks ago when we took on Moparbusa's Gen 3 Hayabusa Turbo that he had built by another shop. He was not entirely satisfied with the build, so he brought it to us to bring it to the next level. We are upgrading it to max ECU, bigger injectors, flex fuel, all the bells and whistles, and actually putting down the power this bike is capable of. Stick around, it's going to be a long one.
Hey folks, Ringer 57 here for Moparbusa. We are working on his Gen 3 Turbo now. I got Motorhead here, he's helping me out. We're going to go ahead and get an eyes on this turbo setup. We know we have a blown high boost line. It is burned off from the header. So we're going to go ahead, get this body work off, check what size turbo we're working with, fix the high boost, and see what this thing actually makes for a good baseline on high boost. The low boost number is 204 to 211 depending on the pull. From ice cold, 211, repeated pulls, 204. All right folks, and we are back. So we've got the right hand side panel off, and we're in here trying to fix the high boost. As you can see, it's melted off the top of the gate there. It was a poly line, some sort of chintzy questionable hose, but it did melt shut, so that was nice. But a lot of points of concern. One, that was pushed onto a barb with no form of clamp. Two, and my biggest concern, right here you're going to see a T off of the main reference for the bottom of the gate. You'll notice there's no clamp or zip tie there on any of those fittings. And if I reach up here and just with one finger flop, there is your bottom of the gate reference. Without that, you have no control. It doubles the boost instantly. Also locating a few different leaks down here. I'm gonna have to hunt down, but we'll get those fixed up for him. We also got some leaks at the turbo. We'll get her squared away, but that's where we're at. And good morning, folks. We have gone ahead and got the laptop back. We went to the track last night with Dragonfly and did some fun racing there. But this isn't for my channel, this is for Moparbusa. So let's get on to his bike here. We are back at it this morning. We've gone ahead and popped the tank up. We found a clamp. This clamp was actually sitting over here. It was left loose, it was never tightened. So I'm not entirely sure how much power this made. I'm actually thoroughly impressed that it was clamping what it was. We'll get that tightened up. Again, we're running into the no zip ties on any of the reference lines, which is a huge no-no, guys. Always at least put a zip tie, if not a good hose clamp, on every reference line for your gate. If you blow a wastegate line, not a big deal. You blow a map sensor line, it's going to screw up, but it's not going to be the end of the world. But you blow that bottom reference line, and you are going to make so much power this thing probably would loop if it didn't just blow the tire off. So it does have the RCC billet throttle body adapters. It is early in the morning, and air to water intercooler. We're gonna go ahead, fix that clamp, check a few more things over, and then the next clip y'all are gonna see is a high boost pull. Well, it'll be a low boost pull followed directly by a high boost pull. Alright folks, and we are set back up. I've gone ahead and replaced the little poly line with some high temp poly to the gate. That will all be getting redone anyway. We are going to be putting a max ECU with multiple boost stages, compressed air boost control on this, bigger injectors, and turning this thing up on ethanol. But this is a temporary so we can see what the high boost was. I'm going to go ahead and set y'all down so you can watch. I'm going to have Dennis drive this thing while I can't get horsepower numbers. Chad took the laptop. We'll be back. Alright folks, and I don't know if the camera can still see me, but I'm going to jump to a new clip and explain what just happened there. Alright folks, and after fixing the boost leak, yesterday we were at 211, we were at 268, so he was getting the advertised power that he was told it was set at. And yeah, it made 393.2. It was on a runaway mission for 500. So this thing hasn't had good control over the boost for a while, but it did make the advertised power. That was 400 on pump gas at 8,000 RPM. I would want to see that more out here at like 9,500 to 10,000. That is excessive. And that is also why you saw, I don't know if the video showed it or not, I'm going to check, the cloud of black smoke is because it went absolutely pig rich. And as soon as it broke up, I had to abort the run. As you can see, it was an abbreviated run. It never even made it to full pull, just because the tune was so bad. I'm sure he had it fat for a reason. He had it fat because 400 on pump gas is really pushing, especially for a small turbo like this with a small motor. So, did it make 400 on pump gas? The answer is yes. Yes, it did. It probably did make 415. The reason the graph wasn't shown is because it was probably an abbreviated run such as that, where he hit it early and hard. So, I'm gonna go ahead, get this thing off the dyno, and we're gonna start pulling it down, up the injectors, pull the fuel system apart, get the fuel system updated, and get all these lovely goodies over here put on here for Jamie. We have 1700cc upper injectors, Boost by Smith, plug and play Gen 3 adapter for the max ECU with all the sensors. We have, let's see, fuel pressure, oil pressure, dome pressure, boost control, flex fuel for E85. This thing is going to be smooth, and we're going to be using all Finish Line factory fittings and braided line to replace the rubber hoses that were used in the initial install. Are these a bad option? No, they work. They're just a cheaper option. I don't know if you can see them. The screen goes dark on this thing. But that's what she made. I'm going to go ahead and send a message to Jamie and update him. And for now, I think that's it for today on this one. I have to jump over to this old yellow one. But, yep. Alright guys, Ringer 57 back here with Jamie's bike. We are going to go ahead and get these ID 1700s installed. We have gone ahead and honed out the adapters to accept them. We've already spoken with Richard at RCC. He's looking at possibly doing some revisions to make this a little better fitment for future applications and possibly this application. We'll see how that goes. For now, I've gone ahead, I've got the max ECU installed. I still have to build a nice bracket for that igniter. We're going to tuck it off over here to the side. We've got the map line hooked up. We've got oil pressure sensor replaced. We are going to be building a bracket to mount the boost control, which is a much neater setup, and to retain the radiator back. And I have room to pull the radiator back further, gain him a little more wheel clearance, so we don't have to worry about that front fender hitting. He was very clear, we do not want to cut that front fender, so we're going to do everything we can to give him as much clearance as we can with that existing fender. I'm going to go ahead and get this installed, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw the intake air temperature sensor that's over here next to me on there and start figuring out what we need to do about a fuel system, because this does have an external pump. It is a Warbro 255, and I don't know that it is going to meet our expectations for power. Alright folks, so we have gone ahead and removed the PTI sensor from Jamie's Plenum here. We went ahead and it originally went here. There was a bolt hole here and a large bore hole right here. The easiest way to seal that off and still be able to use it in the future if you want, I just went ahead and welded a plate over top of it. It's well sealed, worked just fine. Now I'm going to need to drill and tap for 1/8 NPT right there for the new Rife High IAT sensor, and we will be onward and upward putting the Plenum on, and pretty well done short of the fuel system. Alright folks, so you may have noticed that the injectors we are installing have a different connector style than the OEM connector, which is what the decas that came with the RCC adapter are, or any other connector you normally see. These are an EV6 connector. Now, a lot of people sell an adapter plug, so to plug into here and plug into your injector. I have seen connectivity issues in there, and connectivity issues on a high horsepower turbo just aren't a good situation. You tend to melt things. So when you purchase the injectors, they do come with adapters. Now these are pigtails that you will have to crimp on. They come with pins, seals, and the connector. You have to have the appropriate crimping pliers for them. That's what we're going to go ahead and do here for Jamie. We'll get this squared away. This harness will look like OEM, get it installed, and we'll be on to the next step. Alright guys, and we are continuing onward. It is another day. We have completed everything from the seat back. We do have an air compressor to mount back there. We made that decision last night. We're going to use compressed air for the boost control, regulated down to 40 psi. With that, we're going to need to drop the spring in the gate. I'm going to put a 2 or 3 pound spring in here. It had a 7, so hopefully we can get like a 220 to 230 horsepower low boost setting and be able to adjust that up to whatever we really feel like. We've got it on the lift now set up. I am working on the O2 sensor. So the Monster Turbo system did come with an O2 bung. However, it's kind of hard for y'all to see because it's so dark. If you run a straight line off of this, it runs straight into the header. There's no way to get an O2 sensor in there. If I cock this a little that way, which I could fudge, it'll run into the radiator. If I cock it even further, it's just crooked as all get out. Also, if I cock it the other way, I run into the wastegate, which sits up here. So I've gone ahead and put my own O2 bung in here. We still have to weld it. That gives me plenty of clearance to add the reference line I'm going to put on this side instead of against the block. Plug that, dome pressure sensor, dome boost control, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. We've gone ahead and mounted the radiator and been able to pull that back another inch, so he has all the room in the world for this front fender. We don't have to worry about trimming that. That was in the talks. He did not want to trim it, so we're not going to. Beyond that, we're just waiting on a fuel pump to come in. We are upgrading it from a 255 liter per hour to a 400 liter per hour to be able to keep up with the alcohol, and we have yanked all the fuel lines out. We're going to be putting PTFE on here so that it is alcohol stable. He's going to be running, as we've spoken before, E85 and gasoline. It'll be flex fuel, flex boost. All the factory bells and whistles will still work, cruise control, lift control, and he'll even have some bells and whistles that Suzuki themselves couldn't put in this. Alright folks, and it's been about a week and a half, so we hit the point where we were waiting for parts to come in. We're still waiting for parts to come in. We did hit a small snag. We are a Finish Line factory dealer. We ordered all Finish Line factory fittings, and they got shipped to someone else, and theirs got shipped to us. So they're reshipping those. They should be here this week, so I'm just buttoning up the last few small things. We have our dome pressure sensor installed. I'll put a retainer here. Going to the top of the dome, making sure that none of these poly lines run anywhere near anything hot. We have the top of the gate going to wastegate output on the boost controller. This is being fed source air from the regulator in the back. And all that is controlled by a hob switch. This needs tidied up a little bit. I'm not a fan of this wiring. I'm probably going to redo it a little bit. That's fed by a small compressor up here. And other than that, we're pretty much the same spot. I've got some tucking and cleaning up to do, such as I'm going to add a clip here to retain these wires out of the way and this out of the way, so on and so forth. But beyond that, this bike is pretty well ready to rock and roll. We've got the new AEM fuel pump. That is going to be installed in the same location that Jay had it. Don't see any reason to move it. It was a good location. So I got to get a dash 690 for that. I've got to get the 3/8 fittings for the flex fuel sensor so I can install it down in here. And I can build the line from the pump to the flex sensor, from the pump to the bottom of the tank, from the flex sensor up to the rail. And the last line will be from the regulator back to the housing. Now that's going to need to be clocked a little more. I can see that already. But like I said, that's all still got to be built. But the max is installed. We've got intake air temp. We got O2. Oh yeah, I went ahead and I finished welding up that O2 sensor. They're not the prettiest welds in the world, but they got color and they're consistent enough. I need to improve on that. This hose here used to run factory alongside the oil cooler. It had kept hitting his exhaust, so I went ahead and just trimmed it up. It's just a puke hose. It is non-critical. We have secured the radiator. Everything's just a little bit nicer. Now he doesn't have to worry about clearance at all. I've probably already gone over that. Like I said, I'm just getting all this footage together for Jamie. I'll probably use some of it on my channel. He'll edit what he wants out of this. But she is coming together absolutely beautifully. Like I said, I've got one plug left. That's flex seal. And we are ready to rock and roll. So, we'll check back once I've got a fuel system. Alright folks, and we are waiting on three fittings and we will be on the dyno. So we've gone ahead and installed the new AEM 400 liter per hour pump. It is a little larger so you can see it physically now, but when it's on the bike you can't. Just have to get a clamp around it on that mount. That is plumbed up to all of our brand new PTFE AN lines. This is our feed to the pump, our return from the regulator. Down in there, you can't really see it. See that little red fitting? That is a cap on the flex fuel sensor. That is one of the fittings I'm waiting for. And then once we have that, we can go ahead and put all the quick connects in that we're waiting on. They'll be here tomorrow by noon. Put the tank on, fill it with the E85, and get this girl on the dyno. See if we can't make some good power numbers. Once we get the E85 tune done, we'll go ahead and switch over to gasoline and iron that side out. And then from there, the flex will blend in between. We should be ready to rock and roll. Alright. Alright folks, so I never film first starts. Rule of thumb. So, this is not first start. But we went ahead and got it fired up. Did not want to idle. Had to get with Greg Smith himself. Trying to learn this CAN bus drive-by-wire stuff. It's a little different than my normal Max. It's actually not too complicated, but it's complicated. One setting adjustment and she's idling great. The tune, keep in mind, is not correct yet. I still have to calibrate ethanol. I still have to tune the fuel tables, get everything squared up. But we are way better off than we were. So, here we go. We are on ethanol, ID 1700s, on the Greg Smith Max ECU, and that turbo is singing. As you can tell, we still have some Excel enrichment work to do. Obviously, we have fuel tuning to do. And we're currently reading 77% ethanol on an 86 to 88% ethanol blend. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a physical test of that ethanol content, and we'll go ahead and get this calibrated to read it correctly. Then we will go ahead and get it on the dyno. We'll iron out the tune on that fuel. We will drain the entire tank down and put E0 in it, 0% ethanol. We will tune it on that, get a fuel table set, and it will interpolate the transitions between based on what we've got set up. Then we'll go ahead and throw E50 in it just to verify the tune's right, the flex is working, and this thing should be ready to go home. But we are working, guys. So, I'm gonna go ahead and let Jamie know it's running. We should be ready to rock and roll. All right, folks, and we are back with Suki. Suki is up here on the dyno. She is ready to start driving. I've actually done a little driving. She's running pretty good. I got the flex calibrated, got with Greg Smith, went through all the calibrations and settings that we wanted configured for this particular application. The power modes are boost mode, so on and so forth. Right now, we're just doing driving. I'll give you a little footage, but we're down to like 13% battery on this GoPro, and I should probably charge it. So I'll do a little driving for y'all, and then okay, folks, I don't know how much of that you got. The battery died. But we got Suki on the dyno. I'm gonna do a little bit of driving for y'all. You're plugged in on the GoPro, so the audio is probably not what it normally is. I'll get it charged overnight and we'll have a good GoPro for tomorrow. Here we go. We are not logging any power numbers. We're working on driving. Alright folks, so that's Suki at I think it was 20, 40, and 60% throttle. And then, or no, sorry, 20, 40, and 100% partial run, aborted run. Just trying to get some rough lines. What I'll do is I'll take the data in between each. I was taking that data, seeing how far off I was on total target, compensating a portion of that, not all of that, because it can swing too far, and then making the next run, Now I took what's in between those and rough interpolated it based on what the curves I've seen from these bikes, and that's where we're at. I've got that worked out. Tomorrow we'll come back with a fully charged GoPro and the motor head. As throttle man, I'll be on the keyboard and we'll see what this thing actually makes. I'm willing to bet it's gonna make like 220 on low. I did change the gate spring. So let's see what it made for boost. Sorry about all the fan noise. It made 6 pounds of boost. You can't see that, it won't focus. 6 pounds of boost on the gate spring. That is with a 2-pound spring. So it's creeping a lot, but that is what it is. It makes for a fun ride on low boost, and it makes it easier to hit the high boost, I guess. 6 is still more than manageable. All right, now that I'm not recording a time warp, we got Suki on here. Dennis isn't here, it's the night before. I've just been kind of tinkering through the driving, and I think I got Watt at low boost comfortable enough to make a pull and record it. So I got the dyno set up. You can't see it in frame there. It's up there to record this run, and we're gonna see what kind of power this makes it. I believe it's gonna make 6 to 7 pounds of boost. It should be the lowest physical boost setting this bike can run. We were hoping to knock it down a little bit because it was 260 before. I'm hoping to be in the 240, 220 range. That's a nice, manageable, rideable power level all day, especially on pump gas. We are on E85 at this time, but it's gonna be the same boost setting on pump gas. So here we go. Alright folks, so I went ahead and turned off the big blower so I could try and show you all this. He'll probably have some screenshots, but that's first pull, 216.8 horsepower. Looks to be 145 foot-pounds of torque-ish. I don't got my clicker. Where's my clicker? Give me the clicker. $143 foot-pounds of torque. It starts making peak power at 8,300 and plateaus and just holds it out to 9,500. I don't know how much higher I really want to sing it. It kind of felt good there. I'll sing it higher just to see, but I really don't think it needs more RPM than that. That's generally a Gen 3 thing, not to want that much. So that is really good power numbers for a start. Let's see where our boost was. And we leveled out at exactly 6 pounds of boost. Sorry for the clicking. So I'm gonna go through here and clean up the fuel. There's our target error. We are, okay, we're pretty close. I'm not even gonna lie. That's close. We're total fuel target. The widest we got was 7%, otherwise we're averaging like 1 or 2%. That's spot on, guys. Spot on. The dome pressure's a little weird. I don't know why we have dome pressure. We shouldn't. I'll have to check the boost settings. Oh, I know why. I know why. Okay. So it's gonna make a little less than that. It's probably gonna make on lowest boost like 200, which is still really good. But like I said, this is lowest boost. We can turn it up a lot from there. Floating between 11.7 and 12.2. Roughly 12 bucks. Huh? Yeah, 10 bucks.
What's the last line? 10?
This is 10.
Yeah, that turbo was too small. Glad I sold that
185 foot-pounds of torque.
saying? No.
Yeah, this would have been dead flat.
The 6.3 is a little bit too long.
That would have been dead flat. The little waver in the middle is the boost waver. The dome caught up when he opened the gate. So that was 12 pounds of boost, 287 horsepower, and 185 foot-pounds of torque. All right, folks, this should be right at about a bar of boost. we go. We're filming normally. And the battery just dropped dramatically. In any case, we got old Suki here. We ran into an issue on E85 when we started turning up the boost. At about 220 foot-pounds, we were blowing through the stock clutch like nobody's business. We could make 400, but we'd have to put a lot more than 400 down to make it read 400. So we've gone ahead and pulled the clutch out of my personal bike over there, Dragonfly. We have an MTC Gen 2 set up live in here. We are working on a solution for a Gen 2 clutch backdate for this. We may have found a good solution for that. So we're gonna go ahead and work through that. We need to get one custom. Alright, the GoPro is being really silly. But we tried to max this thing out on E85. We ran into clutch slip issues, so we have now got my MTC Gen 2 clutch in here while we find a solution. We did switch over to pump gas. I left that out because it's just a bunch of repetitive tuning. We've got 5 boost levels. Let me review those quick. Jamie will probably go ahead and throw this picture up on screen. The lowest boost level is 198 horsepower, then 216, 239, 274, and 302. Those are his lowest boost options for pump gas. Just pouring E85 in starts at the top of that on the lowest boost setting, so it'll start out at like 325, and it'll climb from there to a goal of 500 for the highest boost setting in the highest gear. So we're gonna start into that tomorrow. I've switched it back to E85 from pump gas. It's working phenomenal, fired right back up. Air fuels where they're supposed to. The ethanol sensor's reading as it should. And so far it seems like everything is working perfectly. Cross our fingers. But we'll come back tomorrow, hopefully get some of the high boost pulls, and this is gonna wind up being a real long video. Here we go, big power. That's about irritating as all get out. 495. Let me double check the weather on this, make sure it's right.
It's probably off.
Because the weather station's probably not right. Let's see, what are we at? We are at, oh my God, we're at freaking 90 degrees in here. Yeah, it's not right.
Come on, go over 5.
Oh, it's gonna go over 5. Humidity is not 86, it's 72. Okay. 511! 511, boys! 30 pounds of boost. That's how we do it. It'll make more if we want.
Alright folks, if you can't tell, I'm laying in bed, but I hope you all enjoyed that video. I'm going to sit here and edit for the next hour and a half to put this thing together. But we made some serious power with that thing. 556 horsepower, 330 foot-pounds of torque. It's not quite maxed out, but it is on the edge. We are hitting the point where dome pressure is exceeding 1-to-1. We can go higher. We can push to like 35, 36 and probably make somewhere in the 580 range, almost 600. If I really stood on it, it'll make 600, but there is no point in beating on it for that magic number. 500 is the magic number. It's where the attention is caught. It's where you know you've got some serious power. I went out, test rode it, hit it in power mode 5, E85, and first, second, third was useless. Fourth, it hooked up. Fifth, it was pulling pretty good, and then I hit the quick shifter in fifth, and when it snatched that 6th gear 550 tune, when I tell you my world got shook, I came back with my hands shaking. That is saying something. I don't normally get startled by a turbo. That thing come alive. It did things that I wasn't anticipating it doing. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later.